Joining the military is one thing, but if you have unique skills and are an above-average soldier, you might be a great candidate for a Special Forces group. These are some of the most exclusive groups in the world, along with being the most dangerous, from land to sea. Stick around until the end so that you can decide for yourself which Special Forces group is the greatest. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to The Richest by clicking on the red subscribe button. While you're at it, feel free to give this video a like and join our notification squad. Now, here are the 10 most elite Special Forces in the world. Night Stalkers. There are some groups you never hear about until years later. Known as the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or the Night Stalkers for short, these guys are part of the United States Army. They were one of the special forces who took down Osama bin Laden back in 2011. They flew the stealth Black Hawk helicopters during Operation Neptune Spear, which was the codename for bin Laden's raid. Had it not been for the bin Laden mission, the world may not have known that they even existed. They are specially trained to fulfill special operations and go on the most discreet missions in the world. Did we mention that some of these missions are incredibly deadly? They have been engaging in combat operations since October 2001, particularly in nighttime operations, which is where their name came from. They specialize in using Black Hawk, Chinook, and Little Bird helicopters. The 160th has 4 battalions, a dedicated training company, and a regiment headquarters. They also believe in the mentality of train as you fight. They go through realistic fighting situations in a variety of environments so that they're ready for anything that they might encounter. They are always looking for the best of the best soldiers to recruit from within the U.S. Army. Black Storks. The Black Storks, also known as Pakistan Special Services Group, or the SSG for short, are considered to be one of the best special forces in the world. But why the name Black Storks? Because they wear this special headgear that makes them look unique in comparison to other special forces. In order to qualify, they have to complete a 5-mile run in 40 minutes and a 36-mile march in just 12 hours. And they have to wear full gear while accomplishing this. But wait, isn't Pakistan a small country? How are they considered to be better than the military in some large countries? When you think about it, Pakistan has been at war for a long time, so they had to learn a lot of things quickly in order to survive. This super elite group trains in a similar way to the U.S. Army's Special Forces and Britain's SAS, which you'll learn about soon. The SSG goes through rigorous training, and some members are even sent to the United States for additional training. In order to qualify, officers must have served a minimum of 5 years in the Pakistan Army and have had already volunteered for the SSG for 2 years. Non-commissioned folks have to volunteer and pass a selection course in order to be considered. Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs are the primary special elite force for the United States. They are one of the hardest special forces units to get into, and they engage in some of the most dangerous missions in the world. The SEALs are a maritime operation, meaning that when there's water, the SEALs are involved. They participate in direct action warfare, special reconnaissance missions, foreign internal defense, counterterrorism, and more. The SEALs were established by President John F. Kennedy in 1962, and they are trained to engage in unconventional warfare. This means that these guys are going into some of the most unpredictable situations that don't follow the standard rules of engagement. SEALs have to go through approximately 30 months of training before their first deployment. Basically, these guys are pushed to their mental and physical limits in order to become some of the strongest people in the world. As of 2018, all active Navy SEALs are male. If there are strong SEAL candidates in the military, they might get recruited by the CIA to join the even more exclusive Special Operations Group. And in case you're wondering, yes, the SEALs are working on a training program for women. In 2015, the SEALs lifted their ban on women joining, and the program is open to any woman who can pass the grueling training process. It won't be long before we see our first female SEAL in action. British SAS. The British Special Air Service was founded in 1941 as a regiment during World War II. In 1950, it was reconstituted as a corps. They are considered to be one of the best special forces out there. Some even believe that the world bases their special forces operations on the SAS. With this in mind, it's no surprise that people think that the SAS is on top when it comes to special forces around the world. The person who created the Delta Force for the USA was with SAS for a period of time. The SAS are especially trained for anti-terrorist special operations. Their selection and training programs are one of the toughest in the world. Not only do they have to do long marches and treks in the jungle, but they also have to climb mountains. The SAS hold 2 recruitment periods each year, one in summer and one in winter. Any member of the British Armed Forces can apply, but know that the SAS thins out the herd pretty quickly thanks to their rigorous requirements. The recruitment process has a 90% fail rate. The majority of the people who apply barely make it through the training due to stress and injury. The program is basically built to break you down mentally and physically, so you can be remolded into a metaphorical superhero. Special Naval Warfare Force. Based in Spain, the Fuerza de Guerra Naval Especial, or the Special Naval Warfare Force, is one of Europe's most respected special forces. It was created in 2009 after a bunch of different special forces units of the Spanish Navy were merged together. Getting into the FGNE is especially challenging, as the fail rate of candidates lies between 70% to 80%. What is even crazier to think about is that it's not uncommon for 100% of the new recruits to be rejected either. You could say that the FGNE is Spain's equivalent of the US Navy SEALs. The force consists of mainly Navy and Marine personnel and is based in Cartagena. Those who join this special force are known as Green Berets. They are recruited in 2 stages. The first stage consists of pushing recruits to their limits in physical strength, mental stability, and endurance. If they get past the first stage, then the second stage consists of training with different operations of naval forces around the world and learning how to use equipment. The FGNE participates in hostage release operations, direct actions over enemy land targets, engaging in combat, and much more. Spetsnaz GRU. The Russian Spetsnaz, or troops with a special purpose, probably spark images of the Cold War and the Soviet Union. While both of those things are over, the Spetsnaz still exists today. You could say that it's an umbrella term for all of Russia's special forces that operate under GRU, Russia's Foreign Military Intelligence Agency. The first thing that might come to mind is the infamous Alpha Group unit that handled some of the biggest and most sensitive incidents in Russian history. The Spetsnaz GRU was created to handle reconnaissance and sabotage missions on enemy territory. However, it's hard to know exactly what they do because they're so secretive. Like the other special forces groups in this video, their recruits go through a brutal set of training to test their mental and physical limits. Today, the Spetsnaz have a presence all over the Russian military. This is what makes them so different from US Special Operations Forces, as they have units in multiple military branches. Canadian Special Operations Forces Command. Compared to other Special Forces groups on this list, the Canadian Special Operations Forces Command is fairly young, since it was only founded in 2006. However, one can argue that their Special Forces work started back during World War II, when Canada was serving in several Allied Special Forces units. The 1st Special Service Force, better known as the Devil's Brigade, which was a group consisting of US and Canadian soldiers, became a successful combat unit against all odds. Given that the majority of the rest of the world had some sort of well-established Special Forces group, it was only a matter of time before Canada also jumped on board. They primarily specialize in responding to terrorism and any threats that are imposed on Canadians and the country's special interests around the world. These guys are ready to be deployed on short notice in order to protect Canada. The group is trained to function through harsh conditions, as well as with limited direct supervision. When it comes to dealing with their enemies, they are trained to breach enemy defense systems, strike and seize control operations, and more. So it might be a good idea to stay on Canada's good side. Delta Force. The 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta, otherwise known as Delta Force, primarily focuses on the counterterrorism mission, meaning these guys probably don't sleep a lot. If they're married with families, we can guarantee that their spouses definitely don't know where they are in the world. Delta Force started in 1977 as a response to the growing terrorism concerns around the world. After working with the British SAS, Colonel Charles Beckwith decided that the United States needed a similar unit. The Special Forces Group has gone through a few name changes, and it is currently known as the Army Compartmented Elements. However, people will always know it as Delta Force. These are the guys who are disabling terrorist cells and taking out or capturing specific profiles of interest, otherwise known as high-value units. If you're looking at this and thinking, hey, I want to join the Delta Force, you'll have to join the Army first. Recruits mainly come from the Army's Ranger Regiment and Special Forces groups, so you'll have to get your foot in the military door before you can be considered. There are no civilian to Delta Force recruitment programs, as they're only interested in hiring the best of the best. Special Operations Command. The Special Operations Command is a Special Forces unit in the French military. It was started in June of 1992 after the Gulf War. However, France also has the French Foreign Legion, which recruits people for Special Forces who aren't of French descent. This means that someone from another country can serve in the FFL. They are a highly trained infantry group that takes on some of the most intense missions. And when it comes to the SOC, what is truly interesting is that it seems they are willing to recruit civilians instead of only accepting current soldiers. For example, the French Air Force made headlines in 2018 for recruiting outside of the military. The idea behind this decision is that they want to have an array of different people with different experiences, from unskilled to skilled backgrounds. The French Army, Navy, and Air Force each have their own Special Forces unit managed by SOC. These units take on missions consisting of taking out people of interest, sabotage, destruction of material, taking people out of hostile territories, and detaining people of interest. It seems like a lot to take on for a Special Forces unit that may or may not have members who don't have previous experience in the military, but they do put the recruits through an intense training program. Shayatet 13. Shayatet 13 is part of the Israeli Defense Forces, and you could say that it is their version of the Navy SEALs. They are not only one of the most elite and secretive special forces in the world, but they're also considered to be one of the most dangerous. The group was created in 1949, not too long after the State of Israel was established. Considering that the Middle East had so much conflict, it's no surprise that Shayatet 13 grew so strong in such a short amount of time. They have garnered the reputation of being the silent soldiers, who specialize in boarding ships at sea, counterterrorism, intelligence gathering, sabotage, and hostage rescue. They also participate in humanitarian projects, and even once evacuated Ethiopian Jews from Sudan during the Civil War. They have been involved in the majority of the major conflicts in Israel since their creation, forcing them to learn the ropes quickly. If you want to join Shayatet 13, you have to make a commitment of at least 4.5 years, which is more than the average commitment that's expected for other special forces around the world. What do you think of these 10 most elite special forces in the world? Would you want to join any of them? Let us know your thoughts on the military in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.